The great thing about my role is that every day I get to see how visions for a safer, fairer and more equitable city can become a reality, and how individuals can organise and collectivise for the greater good. This year's International Women's Day film is the third film developed in-house by YWCA Canberra. This year we interview 3 remarkable Canberra women on how they took a personal interest, a sense of belonging and a pursuit of justice to help make our city a more equitable place for all. There is no one path to becoming a good advocate, and it doesn't require you to sweep in with all the answers. It requires a sense of commitment, direction, and a willingness to collaborate. So please join us in celebrating International Women's Day by watching our latest film featuring the remarkable Katrina Marsden, Sonam Choden, and Ruth O'Brien.
Hi, my name's Ruth O'Brien. I'm a singer and songwriter. I released my first EP in 2018 called Invaluable. I'm about to release a new EP called Songs for Abby. So when I was first getting into music, there definitely was a barrier there in terms of being a musician with disability, like physical disability especially. I had not seen anybody who looked like me at all in the music industry, both in Australia or around the world. There's still very few people in the media who have arms like I do, and I guess I always felt like I wanted to be that change, but also it felt like perhaps that was going to be harder for me because it wasn't what people used to. So I think that has been a barrier, but also a motivator, because I'm like, well, maybe I can be that person. I think if I'd seen people in the music industry or arts industry in general that looked more like me or that had similar upbringings, I think it would have been a lot easier for me to forge a career in the arts. And that's what I'm trying to do with Upbeat. I can see that my lived experience and my story might be helpful in that way, and I can hopefully relate in some way to people that have had similar challenges. Also try to bring in other leaders within other marginalised groups, so that we can have a more inclusive music industry all round. When the pandemic happened, I think we were all really anxious and didn't know what to do, but some industries were definitely more affected than others, one being the music industry. The word decimated was said pretty much every day. When it first happened in March 2020, I was pretty anxious myself, didn't really know what to do, but I guess I always feel a sense of responsibility to do something. That's just, it's just who I am. And I had this group on Facebook already called Music Industry Canberra, which was basically Upbeat but on Facebook. So whenever I saw an opportunity or something that could potentially help somebody in the music industry, I'd just share it on there. But then I quickly realised that Facebook's not for everyone. Not everyone's on Facebook, and you shouldn't have to be on Facebook to find out about these things. So and a lot of the reading and my self-education I'd gotten along the way said that newsletters were a really great way to get the word out there about things. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll start a newsletter. So it's been really successful. It's now got almost 800 subscribers. I really want to make a change because I feel like I can, and I know that's a very simple answer, but I just feel like I've got the experience, the skills, the confidence, the ability to articulate all these different things that it feels a bit selfish to keep it just to me. Like this song that I keep thinking of, actually, that I don't know if you know the singer Brooke Fraser, but she had this song, I can't even remember what it's called, but the lyrics in it said, "Now that I have seen, I am responsible." And I just regularly think of that, because it's like, if you know something happens, you can't just continue to walk by. I've already seen changes particularly with Upbeat. I've had a few people come up to me and say, that job you put in that newsletter, I applied for that and I got that. And that just makes it so amazing. Like, it makes me feel tingly all over, because I'm like, yeah, see, it works. Like, if we just share this information and provide the opportunity to put the opportunity in front of someone, and then it's up to them whether they act on it or not. But the first step is them knowing about it, and if somebody knows about something, then that gives them power.
So I'm Katrina Marson. I am a criminal lawyer by profession. I'm currently the 2IC at the Sexual Offences Unit in the ACT Director of Public Prosecution. In addition to that sort of professional trajectory, I have a research interest in relationships and sexuality education as a means of safeguarding sexual well-being and safety. In 2018, I applied for a Churchill Fellowship, which is a research grant that allows successful applicants to travel overseas and learn from other countries and jurisdictions about a particular topic that we would benefit from learning about how they do it overseas and bring those lessons back to Australia. It was an opportunity to reinvigorate that interest in relationships and sexuality education and an opportunity to go and answer the question of, or try and answer the question of implementation of relationships and sexuality education, because that's really where we stall in Australia, because relationships and sexuality education involves so many stakeholders, so young people, teachers, parents, government officials, policymakers. It involves such a wide range of stakeholders that the forum idea kind of shows the power of bringing all of those voices together with the shared aim of ensuring universal access to comprehensive relationships and sexuality education. I knew that there were people already in the ACT who had been working in this space for a long time, and so I wanted to sort of harness that, I suppose. And I suppose I had some trepidation as to whether that would be a welcome overture if I were to make contact with these people and organisations, given that I consider myself a bit of an outsider to relationships and sexuality education. I haven't been working in this space for as long as a lot of other people. I still don't know all the answers or have all the information, but it's actually a very warm and welcoming sector. People were very interested to speak with me, very happy and generous with their time and their knowledge. It was people that I would see engaging with my posts, or perhaps the algorithm was throwing these people towards me, and then I would just make contact with them. I was sliding into DMs left, right and centre, and it was actually working out really well. I think there's just everything to be gained by sincerity in any connection that you make, and I just have found over the past few years, emailing people, contacting them, with a request to just open a line of communication with them is inevitably well received. So I'm very proud that the Relationships and Sexuality Education Alliance in the ACT launched late last year, and it brought together some of the key stakeholders in the ACT, wonderful, energetic people who have a really shared vision for access to RSE for all young Canberrans and in fact Australians. One thing I'm really proud of is that last year the ACT government pulled together some working groups in the area of sexual violence prevention and response, and I was involved in the prevention working group, and a number of the people who were on that working group were already part of the alliance, so it showed to me that we had identified some really key stakeholders in this space, and that we had already recognised the need to have that shared conversation and bring the collective experience to bear on this particular issue, rather than these sort of individual siloed channels happening. So that was a really proud moment for me to see that so many of us were represented in that working group and were already involved in that collective effort through the Alliance.
I'm Sonam Churin from Bhutan. I'm a mother of 2 children. So since my arrival in Australia, I've been working as a cleaner at Calvary Public Hospital. So when we worked under previous company, we were, paid increment every year without any problem. But then later, when Compass took over the contract, we didn't receive any increment in 3 years. So by then we realized that we have been not looked after by our company. So that's how our negotiation and fight for rights began. Because most of us were on temporary visa, so we were afraid that we might lose our job. Many of our colleagues were not so confident to speak up and negotiate. So I stepped up and took the role of union delegate. But luckily, union officials, they supported us throughout our journey. So we got strength to move on. We have been successful in negotiating an increase in our wage for the first time in 3 years. We were all proud that finally we could win the battle in negotiating despite all the odds. We were so happy, and then at the same time we thought that never stop like fighting for what we deserve. Yeah, everyone, we become stronger thereafter. So we also felt that together we could we can do enormous tasks. That time I was going through emotion also. That time my father also, he passed away. There, if he was there, he would be the happiest person to see me like that. He was my inspiration. During fights, he was always there for supporting me. You can do it from the back. So he listens to me, and then he thinks that what I'm doing is right. So he supported me. But finally, when I was awarded, he was not there, so I felt it. I was shocked to be named as ACT Women of the Year, which was not expected at all. We were invited there during award night, so we went there thinking that we might keep clap and then appreciate the winner. They announced my name. It was like shocking. I would love to do something for communities, but then I'm on temporary visa, so I have to look after my family. So that's why I'm giving more time on my work. So I work 12 to 13 hours a day. So that means if I don't work, it's like it's living here in Canberra living standard is very high. So I'm working for my family. If I get in future, we're working on visa also. If I get visa through, I think I might do something for communities.
Thank you for joining us for International Women's Day, and we really hope that you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much to Ruth, Sonam and Katrina for sharing their stories. On behalf of everyone here at YWCA Canberra, happy International Women's Day.